Welcome to Mr. Giant Reacts and Ting and Ting and Ting. I'm Mr. Giant, and today we're going to be watching foods that are banned in Europe but not in the US. What could that be? What could that be? Let's YouTube and simmer and see what's going on here.
If you don't subscribe to that, please do. Well, by popular demand, I wanted to cover some things on that channel that weren't quite mega enough for it, so I present to you a new channel called Side Projects, which is no longer that new, but hey, here we are. It covers secret Soviet space weapons, World War II's greatest airplanes, history's lost treasures, and the movement of London Bridge from London to a random town in America. Stuff like that. New videos 3 times a week on Side Projects. So if you were thinking you don't get enough videos from me, well, problem solved. There is a link below. The European Union is as suspicious as ever when it comes to foodstuffs containing chemicals, unnatural dyes, and meat treated with synthetic growth hormones. Since 1981, the EU has had stringent rules for the importation of food to its markets, and those rules have only gotten stricter with time. In 1989, it banned as many as 6 growth hormones, launching a trade dispute which has lasted 30 years and counting. In 2003, it permanently banned 1 synthetic growth hormone, while provisionally banning 5 others, and a whole host of dyes, chemicals, and preservatives are persona non grata in the EU as well. From hard-shelled candy delights, milk, dyed salmon, and beef and pork treated with all kinds of hormones, here are 10 foods banned in parts of the European Union that are
Let's
not
hear
banned
it.
in the United States. Number 10. Skittles. While not banned in the entire EU, Skittles are banned in Sweden and Norway for containing yellow dye number 5 and 6. In most parts of the EU, all that's required of the Wrigley Company, a division of Mars Inc., is to include a disclaimer suggesting that the candy could cause adverse health effects and hyperactivity. Still, it's thought that these dyes can cause allergic reactions in some people, and FDA tests have shown that red dye 40, yellow 5, and yellow 6 all contain cancer-causing agents like benzodine and 4-aminobiphentyl, and the levels released in the body could be much higher than the FDA is reporting, thanks to the fact that routine tests tend to find less of these cancer-causing carcinogens than when they actually pass through the colon. Still, we've never heard of anyone in the US being hospitalized after eating Skittles, but maybe that's just what they want you to think. Number 9.
Skittles? Skittles. Wow. I've eaten them before, but I don't eat them a lot. But Skittles, and because of the dye. But here's the thing, though. Here's my kind of a thought to it. There's just enough chemicals that if you eat it over a long period of time, you might get cancer. Not just you sit and you eat some Skittles and boop, it happens, but it happens over time because chemicals accumulate in your body and stuff. And that's my own thinking of how that happens. You know what I mean? A 70-year lifespan, you could accumulate enough to cause those cancers. Skittles, and the question is, if the rest of the world is questioning the healthiness of said dyes, why are they feeding that stuff to us? And the only thing in America, and the thing about that is that they just brazenly have it on the shelf, and there should be a disclaimer on it. But no, here's what I'm going to say: people going to eat it regardless, because people smoke regardless that they know it will cause cancer. People will do things even though they might, cause cancer. Because I talk to a lot of people who eat a lot of fast food, and ask me why I don't eat fast food, and I said for health reasons, and they said, well, I'm going to die anyway, so I might as well eat something that tastes good. But tasting good and being healthy, it seems to be a toss-up for them, you know what I mean? Living a healthy life, and so many people have cancer here, man. And so many people are dying of cancer here, and it's usually by the time they reach like you see a lot of 50-year-olds and 60-year-olds dying of cancer. And I remember one time speaking with my ex-wife, and she said, "Cancer gonna get you anyway," and that was one of the most poignant statements I've ever heard, because she eats a lot of fast food and stuff like that. A lot of that stuff that it's not healthy for you. Let's keep going here. Skittles though?
RBGH or RBST milk. The main reason cited by the European Union for banning both recombinant bovine growth hormone and its synthetic counterpart, recombinant bovine somatotropin, RBST, officially is due to animal cruelty concerns, but there may be other adverse health effects linked to the use of these hormones. Both RBGH and RBST have been tenuously linked to the developments of certain cancers. In addition to that, the FDA found that further study would have to be conducted to determine the impact these hormones would have on the liver and other organs. But in addition to the potential adverse health effects of RBGH in humans, cattle treated with the growth hormone are more likely to come down with a nasty case of mastitis, inflammatory reaction in the udder tissue caused by infection from microorganisms. As a result of this disease, cattle in the US are treated with antibiotics, eliminating mastitis infections, but potentially causing other problems further down the line. Although the World Health Organization is primarily concerned about the over-reliance and overuse of antibiotics in humans, claiming that this could lead to the evolution of a superbug, 90% of antibiotics consumed aren't taken by humans. They're fed to otherwise healthy animals. And experts warn that this could lead to our livestock essentially becoming superbug factories. As the bacteria they harbour become more and more resistant to antibiotics, it's only a matter of time before these traits get passed on to bacteria that are harmful to humans. Number 8. Papaya.
I don't drink milk. I drink almond milk. I heard there's a oatmeal milk too. I might want to try that, but you know what I mean? Sooner or later, somebody's going to figure out chemicals to put in it to make something, you know, for mass production for one, or to make it taste better. Because it's all about the taste. It's not about the causes on the inside, the taste. Because the taste is what's going to sell the product. Because almond milk is not tasty by any stretch of the imagination. But, you know, it's an acquired taste, I would say. But, wow. Almond milk. Not almond milk, I mean cow's milk. And the thing about it is, it probably was healthy before they start sticking all that crap in the cows. You know what I mean? Man, human beings fail to realize when they start tampering with stuff, it's going to affect them adversely at some point in life, or the people at some point in life. And the fact that they're just doing it anyway, all in the name of profit, pretty much, it's crazy.
Corn and soy. The genetically modified organisms, or GMOs, used in vegetables and fruit in the US have allegedly been linked to some nasty health problems. However, whether this is actually the case, we just don't know. While it is true that the US treats its produce and fruit with GMOs to make them more resistant to different diseases, and this can be largely beneficial, more research does need to be conducted in order to determine which of these is harmful to humans. Unlike the US and the FDA, the EU takes a far more cautious approach when it comes to approving GMOs, meaning that they must pass rigorous tests and environmental monitoring before they are deemed safe for consumption by citizens in their countries. However, even their system is not perfect. Recently, a batch of GMO-treated papaya began circulating through EU-controlled markets. The culprits appear to be farmers in Thailand who mass-produced GMO-treated crops. Number 7. Breads containing azodicarbonamide. Azodicarbonamide, ADA for short, is a chemical used to bleach breads in order to increase their shelf life. Recently, companies like Subway, McDonald's, and other fast food restaurants have come under fire for using this chemical. ADA is also the chemical that allows bubbles to form inside foams and plastics like vinyl. The EU banned ADA because of its potential harmful effects on human health. Both potassium bromates, a chemical used in bread that helps it rise in the oven, and ADA have been linked to kidney and thyroid cancers in rats. So if China, Brazil, and the European Union have all banned the use of this chemical
China
in breads,
banning stuff?
Why haven't the US? The fact of the matter is that the FDA just doesn't think it's dangerous. After multiple studies, it's ruled that it's not harmful in humans. The question you have to ask yourself is, well, which research do you trust more?
Yeah.
Why? Number 6. Chlorine wash chicken. Chlorine plays many roles in the industrialized world. It's a powerful tool for cleaning water supplies which otherwise might become contaminated and lead to the development of cholera when ingested, a disease which is extremely fatal if left untreated. But it's also used to clean other things, like chicken. Chlorine washed chicken means just that, chicken that's been washed with chlorinated water. According to most websites devoted to chicken and all things related to chicken, it's the internet, of course these websites exist, chlorine washing is a food safety practice which helps keep harmful bacteria from growing on poultry. But while the EU doesn't think that washing your poultry in chlorinated water will lead to adverse health effects, they do think it's a method of covering up poor hygiene practices. This understandably has made US exporters incredibly angry, as it's a decision not based in scientific evidence, but rather on paranoia. Number 5. Instant mashed potatoes. While the FDA will
Don't eat
argue
that
otherwise,
neither.
the preservatives butylated hydroxyanazole, BHA, and butylated hydroxytoluene found in instant mashed potatoes, pretty much every single packaged food you buy in the US, have been known to cause some cancers in rats. They're also known to impair blood clotting when consumed in high quantities, among other symptoms like hyperactivity. BHA and BHT are used primarily to prevent foods from excreting oils. This prevents them from going rancid and extends their shelf life. And you can probably guess what the European Union did about this. If you guessed that they outright banned them, then congratulations, you are correct. The strange thing about the situation is that the FDA admits that BHA and BHT are probably a bit carcinogenic in nature. The FDA certified these food additives as GRAs, generally recognized as safe, but this just means that they're only regarded as safe up until a certain amount is consumed and never underwent pre-market review. Number 4, Mountain Dew. You might be...
You know, have you noticed that a lot of those chemicals causes hyperactivity? Now, if I was a conspiracy theorist, I would say that, hey, that will help the population work harder. So the companies that produce this have workers working for them, workers consume it, hyperactivity, boom, more production. Mass production, man, has caused like major issues, and it's also caused government and agencies to do certain things that we used to do naturally to not be done. I mean, let's steer from food a little bit. Here, it's illegal to catch rainwater, and what they tell you, one of the things I hear people say why is because there's chemicals in the rainwater that could cause harm, but we are the ones that's causing the chemicals to be in the rainwater. And but oh man, so we creating that problem, and then we telling people that they're passing laws not to collect it. On the flip side, what it could be is that if you collect rainwater, you ain't gonna use the water from the tap, and then the water companies wouldn't get paid as much because people are collecting the water naturally. You know what I mean? And that kind of falls into the category where they're banning people from living off grid, or wanting to ban people from living off grid. And I know in some places people are banned from living off grid, which means they will be self-sufficient. If everybody decide, or a majority of people decide, or to be self-sufficient, then they wouldn't be buying those chemically treated items. Let's keep going.
Surprised to learn that your favourite lemon lime soda may contain a chemical typically used in a flame retardant, and this is an ingredient that has been banned in over 100 countries. The FDA tested the ingredients in Mountain Dew and found that they lacked enough conclusive data on one of its main ingredients, brominated vegetable oil, to decide whether or not it was safe to consume, although it's still labelled as GRAS. Of course, across the pond it's a different story. Because it competes with iodine for receptor sites in the body, high levels of brominated vegetable oil in humans can lead to thyroid problems, autoimmune diseases, and potentially cancer. In fact, bromine is considered a toxin. Although brominated vegetable oil is still legal in the United States, Pepsi and Coke decided to remove the ingredient from their soft drinks after public backlash. Number 3, farmed salmon.
And that's really interesting right there. This is super duper interesting right there, and I'll tell you why. This, where I live, is Mountain Dew country. Everybody drinks Mountain Dew, or the majority of people around here drink Mountain Dew, right? And I'm talking about in vast quantities too. I mean, I see them coming through the grocery line, and they'd have like 10 six-pack bottles of Mountain Dew. And the amount of people I know coming down with cancer and other, there's a lot of sick people around here. You see them come through the line of the store all the time. And even though they're sick, man, they loaded up on that Mountain Dew. I drank it for a while because apparently it helps keeps you awake. But you can see the cause and effect. You know what I mean? Because so many people are sick here, and Mountain Dew is one of the main soft drinks that people drink here. Main soft drinks.
Eating salmon has all kinds of health benefits, but people consuming anything other than freshwater or organic salmon might be consuming a harmful carcinogen. The European Union has outright banned farm-raised salmon for good reason. So what exactly separates farm salmon from freshwater salmon? Well, that's the fact that salmon that are raised on farms are typically fed an unnatural diet of grain, antibiotics, and other drugs that leave their meat an unhealthy-looking grey. Propagators of farm-raised salmon use a chemical known as astaxanthin to dye the unhealthy grey away. You're probably guessing astaxanthin has been banned in the EU due to health concerns, and you'd be right. What's more is that freshwater salmon growing up on natural food sources retains a vibrant pink quality. Number 2, US.
And I tell you what, this is something that I figured out, you know what I mean? Because I'm from the islands. I know what fish is supposed to look like. And I used to buy salmon from the grocery store. And I look at the salmon and I'm like, why is this gray? You know, this was a while back, you know, it's like every fish that I've caught or I've eaten on the island had a nice pinkish color to it, depending on the fish, of course. So I started to do research, and that's when I found out that's what they're doing. They're farming them, and then people were complaining that they don't look natural because it's gray, so they start dying. They die in this stuff, man. That's just crazy. They put in, you know, if it's not done naturally, how do we expect it to be healthy for us? I'm not saying certain things that aren't just grown not the natural way is not healthy for you, but it's all because of the mass production, number one, because people are farming them, and it's also greed, man. You know, they're gonna make that money. You know what I mean? So in order to make that money, they have to make it look like the real thing. But it's not the real thing because they force feed the stuff that these animals don't normally eat, or the natural things that they eat, the fish or the animal. Wow. Did I remember explaining that to somebody and they're like, huh? It's like, yeah, they dye that stuff to make it look like it's nice and pink in the store. That's crazy, ain't it? The things we do, boy.
Pork. Pigs in the United States typically given food laced with ractopamine, a growth promotion drug which helps animals remain lean. The drug basically mimics the effects of stress hormones, allowing for the production of more meat while keeping feed consumption relatively low. So what might be the problem with this? Well, the company that produces the drug, Elanco, did their own testing on the drug, and this might be a decent indicator that some corners might have been cut. Shortly after the FDA approved the drug for use in American pork products, farmers began reporting that more and more pigs became non-ambulatory, which is a fancy way of saying that they can't stand or walk. These pigs tend to get treated very poorly in US slaughterhouses, getting trampled and dragged by workers and electrically shocked by cattle prods in a cruel effort to get them moving again. More than 218,000 pigs are recorded as having this condition. The FDA accused Elanco of withholding information. But despite this news, the drug is still allowed in the US. All that's changed is a big old disclaimer listing the drug's side effects. On this one, we can't really blame the EU for banning it. Sometimes being cautious pays off. Number 1.
I man don't eat no pork. No, 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 no. No, I eat chicken. I'm eating too much of it lately. I gotta cut back. You know, probably cut it out completely. You know, but again, man, just for mass production, prodding them with the electric stuff. They're not moving. If they ain't moving, if you're pumping stuff in them, what's gonna happen to when we consume it?
US beef. Much like the EU's reasoning on banning US-sourced milk, meat sourced from cattle raised on growth hormones cannot be imported to the European Union. Believe it or not, this decision has resulted in a long-standing trade dispute between the US and the EU, lasting 30 years and counting. Unlike milk, however, the ban on US beef extends to 6 different growth hormones, with estradiol being permanently banned and 5 others provisionally banned. This has resulted in US retaliation in the form of tariffs on selected food imports from the EU, an action that the EU has heavily criticized. Not Not all US beef is banned in the EU, though. Just recently, a deal was reached to allow a certain market share for companies looking to export organic beef, but the tariffs do remain. The US claims that the EU's decision is not based on scientific evidence and that they're not treating farms that use synthetic growth hormones fairly. So I really hope you found that video interesting. If you did, please do it.
You know, it's kind of a that kind of a solidifies the reason why there's so much pushback on science. You know what I mean? Especially science that goes counter to what making money is meant to be. This is crazy, y'all. It's just crazy. I'm like kind of speechless. I gotta admit, I'm kind of speechless with this vibe here. But you know, it's good to know this. You know, come to when you think about it, most of the things he said there, most of the products that I don't drink Mountain Dew, don't eat beef, don't eat pork. They didn't mention chicken too much. They said it's washed in chlorine, but I know they pump some hormones in them to make them look lean and bigger. Because sometimes you get chicken in there and it's huge, man. It's like, man, what kind of a missing link fowl is this? You know what I mean? I definitely don't eat Skittles. I do eat other candy, which I have to cut back because I'm starting to develop something I don't like, and my knees ain't liking it. But it's quite interesting to know that a lot of the stuff in there I man don't consume. I hope you guys found this interesting. I sure do, you know what I mean? Watch what you eat. Take care of each other. I'll leave a link in the description to this video. Cool runnings.